He brought the mighty Roman Empire to its knees. Called the Scourge of God, Attila didn't just conquer cities, he conquered fear itself. But was he a ruthless barbarian, or something more? Stay with us as we uncover the truth about Attila the Hun, a man feared by emperors and forgotten by history. Long before Attila became a name whispered in fear, the Huns were already unsettling the balance of power in Europe. Originally from the steppes of Central Asia, they were expert horsemen and archers who could shoot with deadly accuracy while galloping at full speed. But they weren't just raiders, they were strategists, adapters, and political manipulators. By the 4th century, waves of Hun invasions pushed Germanic tribes into Roman lands, triggering chaos that helped erode the foundations of the Western Roman Empire. Attila didn't create this instability, but he would soon become its most terrifying symbol. Attila wasn't born a king. He rose through cunning and blood. In the early 5th century, he and his brother Bleda were co-rulers of the Huns. But shared power wasn't in Attila's nature. Around 445 AD, Bleda died under mysterious circumstances, many believe at Attila's own hand. Now in full control, Attila reshaped the Hunnic Empire into a war machine. He didn't just lead, he inspired blind loyalty. Hunnic warriors saw him as a near mystical figure, while Rome saw him as an unstoppable storm. Attila's campaigns against the Eastern Roman Empire were devastating. In 447 AD, he marched through the Balkans, leaving razed cities and panic in his wake. The Roman Emperor Theodosius II agreed to pay Attila an annual tribute of 2,100 pounds of gold just to keep him at bay. But gold was not enough. In 450 AD, Attila received a peculiar letter. It came from Honoria, the sister of Western Emperor Valentinian III. She had been caught in a scandal and desperate to escape an arranged marriage. She offered herself and possibly the Western Empire to Attila. Whether she truly meant it or not, Attila used it as a pretext to invade the West. In 451 AD, Attila led one of the largest armies ever assembled into Gaul, modern-day France. But Rome wasn't ready to fall, not yet. A Roman general named Flavius Aetius, himself of barbarian descent, formed a shaky alliance with the Visigoths. The result was the legendary Battle of the Catalonian Plains. Some estimates place the death toll at over 100,000, though exact numbers remain debated. The battle was a tactical draw, but it halted Attila's advance into Western Europe. For the first time, the Scourge of God had been checked, and yet he wasn't finished. In 452 AD, Attila invaded Italy itself, devastating Aquileia so completely that its ruins remained uninhabitable for centuries. Panic spread in Rome, but then something unexpected happened. He stopped. Legend says Pope Leo I met Attila personally and persuaded him to turn back. But the real reasons might be more practical. Disease was ravaging his army, food supplies were dwindling, and Eastern Roman forces threatened his rear. Still, the image of Attila being turned away by a pope became legend, cementing both men as larger-than-life figures in European memory. In 453 AD, Attila was at the height of his power. He had just married a young woman named Ildiko. That night, during the wedding celebration, Attila died. Accounts differ. Some say he bled to death from a nosebleed after drinking too much. Others whisper of poisoning. Was it an accident, assassination, even a revenge killing? No one knows. His warriors, devastated by the loss, buried him in a coffin made of gold, silver, and iron, somewhere in the bed of a river that they redirected and then returned to its original course, burying their king forever. The slaves who performed the task were executed to protect the secret. To this day, Attila's tomb remains undiscovered. History has often painted Attila as a bloodthirsty savage, but that image may be more Roman propaganda than reality. Attila had a complex diplomatic system. He maintained trade, negotiated with emperors, and understood the fragile balance of power better than most Roman rulers. He wasn't just a destroyer, he was also a builder of alliances and a master of psychological warfare. Even his name, Attila, means little father in Gothic, suggesting he was respected even by his enemies. In Hungary, he is still remembered as a heroic figure, a defender of the homeland against Roman imperialism. Even though Attila the Hun lived over 1,500 years ago, his shadow still looms over history. He became the ultimate symbol of unstoppable force, a leader who rose from the wild steppes to challenge the mightiest empire the world had ever seen. In Europe, his name was whispered for centuries as a warning: resist or be crushed. But Attila's story is not just about destruction. It's a lesson in ambition, strategy, and the fragile nature of power. His rise showed how a determined leader could unite scattered tribes into a single, fearsome force. His fall proved that even the most terrifying rulers cannot escape the march of time. Today, Attila remains a reminder that history is shaped not just by empires, but by individuals bold enough to challenge them for better or for worse. He came from the wind-swept steppes, a land where survival forged strength and cunning. Attila the Hun rose not as a mere warrior, but as a storm that swept across kingdoms, bending empires to his will and leaving a mark carved deep into the history of Europe. To his enemies, he was the Scourge of God, a ruthless destroyer whose armies seemed unstoppable. To his allies, he was a leader of unmatched vision, uniting a fierce and fragmented people into a force that could challenge the might of Rome itself. Yet, like all storms, his fury eventually passed. In the years after his death, the empire he built crumbled into dust, leaving behind only whisper stories of a man who could not be broken, of a leader who rose from nothing to stand eye to eye with the greatest powers of his age. Was Attila truly a villain, or was he simply a product of a brutal world where only the strongest survived? Was he a destroyer of civilizations, or a deliverer who sought to raise his people to greatness? The truth lies somewhere between the ruins and the legend, but one thing is certain: Attila's shadow still stretches across history, a reminder of how one man's will can shake the foundations of the known world. If you've enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to subscribe to Timeless Realms, where history's forgotten chapters are brought back to life. From warriors and empires to the mysteries still buried in time, there are countless more stories waiting to be told.